evening and welcome to tonight's call with Take Shape for Life. Your host is Craig Blanchett with Optimal Healthcare Coach. Your call is now live.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be joining you guys again. It is my pleasure to host this call for you this evening. I want to give you, if you grab a pen or a piece of paper, maybe both, I'm going to give you a way to join us online. For those of you that have been around the block a few times, you'll know how to get here. For those of you that are on the telephone and want to join the rest of the party, there's a bunch of people meeting us all across the country through video chat. So if you've got a smartphone or a computer with a webcam, we're going to use a simple program called Zoom. And so if you go to zoom.us, and when you get there, you're going to click on Join a Meeting. It'll be usually up at the top, depending on what device you're on. And then the phone number or the ID number to get into the meeting is 503-974-1671. And so again, that number is zoom.us, click Join a Meeting, and then 503-974-1671. And so I'll give that code in a few minutes from now, and we'll hopefully see you guys join us online. For those of you that are brand new to this call, it is for all our Take Shape for Life clients, Take Shape for Life health coaches, and even our Take Shape for Life health professionals. And so you may hear questions and comments from all of the above. This call is actually designed to be focusing more on the optimization, which is phase 3. We've got our weight loss phase, we've got our transition, and then we've got the optimizing our health phase, which is where we usually end up in after we've lost our weight. I heard someone said, we're not losing weight on this program, we're getting rid of it. So we're going to get rid of it in phase 1, and then we're going to transition to living in a healthy body. And so that's what this call is primarily focused on. And so the call will be about 30 minutes. I'll have some time for some interaction. So we're going to have a little bit of group participation and activity back and forth. The theme for tonight's call is called The Rhythm of Health. And so I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy the topic. Again, for those of you that have called in, point your web browser or smartphone to zoom.us. and click on Join a Meeting, and the number is 503-974-1671. Excellent. All right, so basically for our call tonight, I came up with this idea. I get these crazy ideas in my head, and this idea of sometimes we are in sync or we're dancing to the rhythm, and sometimes we get out of sync when it comes to our own health journey. And there's different reasons why it happens. I'm sure you guys have seen people when if you've ever gone somewhere and saw some group of people dancing, some people are dancing to the rhythm and dancing to the beat, and some people are not so much. They're kind of off doing their own thing a little bit. And I found that happens with me in my own health journey. Is sometimes I'll be right on rhythm. Things will be going well. I'm getting into my water. I'm doing all my stuff. And there'll be sometimes when life events will come along that will take me out of sync. And so here's a few that I came up with as I was thinking about this topic today. Some of the reasons why we might get out of sync or off rhythm would be maybe there was a major life event. Maybe you had a death in the family, or maybe you had a birth in the family. Maybe you had a wedding you needed to go to. Or it could be a number of different things where there's a life event that comes along, and so you're out of your normal rhythm, and you have to sort of jump into this other rhythm, and sometimes you don't plan very well, or it's just different. Another thing might be when you go on vacation. Vacation has a different rhythm, and when we're at home and things are consistent and we have our predictable nature to our lives, when we're on vacation, you know, we're in a new place with new surroundings, and sometimes we get out of rhythm. Another one might be if you had a physical injury. Maybe you twisted your ankle, or you're having knee replacement surgery, or who knows, maybe you just got sick, and so you get out of rhythm. Another one might be if you get pregnant. when you're going through that pregnancy, sometimes not our, but for those of you that are female, your mind might say, I'm not going to be in sync with my health right now because I'm pregnant. And so you get out of sync. And I find when I'm out of sync, I usually am not getting healthier. I'm usually getting less healthy. And so when I get out of rhythm, things don't usually work out for me. And so I'm sure you guys feel this from time to time. And right now I have a lot of my clients are on a vacation, and they're having a really hard time staying in rhythm with their health. Sometimes they're in the weight loss phase, sometimes they're in the optimization phase, and things just kind of all of a sudden. I talked to one of my clients today, and she lives in Maine, and everybody likes to go to Maine in the summer and spend time around the beautiful water that they have there. And she says it seems like for the last 5 weeks we've had people coming and visiting us, and you have a glass of wine one night, and well, it turns into 7 days and turns into 5 weeks, and all of a sudden there's 8 pounds. Where did those come from? And she's not in rhythm anymore. And so these are different things that happen. Some of my other clients are thinking, well, summer's just so crazy. I'm having a hard time keeping it all together. And so I'll get back in rhythm when the school year starts. And for some of you, that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I'll just get back to my normal rhythm. And so sometimes you can do it because your life has changed, and then it changes back and you're able to synchronize yourself and get back in rhythm. But sometimes you're not able to. And so the question I want to talk about tonight is really, what is it like when we get out of rhythm? And what are some ideas that we can learn from each other on how to get back in rhythm? I know for me, when I'm in rhythm, when I go to bed, when you nailed it, like you got your fueling in on time, and you got your water in, you got your movement or exercise, you had some quiet time, and you just go to bed and you go, nailed it. Like, yeah, you feel in sync. You feel like you're in rhythm, and you wake up the next morning and you have that wonderful feeling that I get when I've done that. And it's this satisfaction, like, you know what, yesterday, nailed it, and you wake up and you got a whole new day to work it out again. And I know that when I don't do that, I wake up the next morning with regret, and I think, oh man, I get on the scale and I go, oof, that's not so good. Okay, so what happened there? I got out of sync. I got out of rhythm. And so some of the areas that I personally want to synchronize and be on rhythm in is one of those is sleep. And so if you maybe have some friends that come in from out of town and you decide you want to stay up late because you want to catch up and you want to spend that time, and then you're only getting 5 or 6 hours a night of sleep, that's going to take you out of that rhythm. And if you do that for too long, things are just going to kind of all fall apart, quite frankly. Maybe you're getting your water in. Sometimes if I don't have my water right there next to me, here's my water bottle right here. I keep it with me by my desk. And the only thing I have to remember is to make sure I fill it up. Because if it sits there empty, it does nobody any good, right? So my rhythm is to fill this up in the morning. Actually, I fill it up a couple of times. And so another one is eating 6 times a day. If I get here and I sit here and I'm working, I work from home. And if I don't have some grab and go, easy to fuel that's close by, 3 hours goes by like that, and all of a sudden I'm skipping meals again, and I'm getting out of rhythm. Another thing is, when do you exercise? I talk with a lot of clients, and they say, well, I want to start exercising. Well, the problem with exercise is it takes time, right? I mean, you can't exercise without taking time. I went for a 2-hour bike ride this morning, and I thought, man, I wish I had more time because I would ride for another hour. I mean, I just love riding my bike. Went out at 6 in the morning and had a wonderful time with another friend of mine. And I got back and I'm thinking, boy, that was fun. The problem is I don't have enough time. I mean, I can't work out all the time. I have the rest of my life that I have to keep in rhythm with. And then the other thing too is downtime. do you have time where you give yourself downtime? Maybe you're reading a good book. A lot of times my downtime and my exercise time are combined, and so that works really good for me. Sometimes in the evening, I'll just go out for a half an hour, and I'll just ride my bike, not really particularly fast, and I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to music, and I'll just be out there with myself and my thoughts. And so scheduling that downtime. So those are the kind of the basic areas that we talk about. I'm sure there's more, but that's just kind of some basic ones that when you stay in sync with those, life just seems to go better. And so I have an idea here before I turn it over to you guys for some questions is how do we get back on rhythm if we're off beat, right? If we're off rhythm. And I find in the 5 years that I've been a professional health coach, I find that the number one thing above anything else is community. Take Shape for Life is actually, I just heard it communicated to me at our national convention recently, where a bunch of us crazy health coaches get together and we basically celebrate health and we work on getting better at being healthy and helping inspire other people to join us and be healthy with us. And they said, what we have with Take Shape for Life is not a weight loss program. It's not an exercise program. It's not even a personal development program. What we have is an optimal living community. And I heard that and I was just like, oh, I love that. An optimal living community. That's not contained in a product or a program. That's something bigger, something more powerful. It's amazing. And so what I've done as a health coach, I was a client first, and I wanted more community. And I became a health coach, and I've been learning to hone my skills and get better and better as a health coach. And what I find is I'm increasing my community. I have clients that will come on board and they'll say, I want to help some people, and we increase our community. And all of you guys joining us today, by the way, I don't know if you realize this, but thank you tonight, for being part of my optimal living community. Do you realize that all of you are part of a community that we have here on Wednesday night? And so this is one of those things that's going to help us get back in rhythm and get back on time, is the community that we keep. If the community that we keep is healthy, the likelihood that we're going to be healthy is a lot better. I think there's a lot of people that try to get healthy and they don't change their community, and the community ends up being stronger than they are, and they end up getting lured back into those old habits. And so if you're struggling with being out of rhythm with your health, you might take a look at your dance partners and see if they're dancing on beat or not. Because if they're not, maybe you all need some dance lessons. You know, let's go to dance class and figure out how to dance and get back on rhythm with our health. And so that's what helps me stay on beat, and that's how I am working on this thing I call the rhythm of health. It's around being part of other people that are also wanting the same thing that I want, and we learn when one of us is struggling, the community is able to help and pull us back, and so we're able to be part of that. So at this point, we have about 15 minutes. How exciting is that? Well, we can talk about our different ways that we've gotten out of rhythm with our health, and some things that maybe has helped you get back on rhythm. And I'm going to start off with the folks that are joining us tonight on Zoom. And so if you are on Zoom, what you can do is down in the bottom left-hand corner, if you are on a computer, there's a little button, a little microphone. You can click on that and unmute yourself. Now, if you have any trouble with that, you can just wave at me and I will unmute you. But I want to turn it over to our Zoom audience tonight to have some ideas where times in your life when you've gotten out of rhythm, and then some things that you've done to get back in rhythm. Who would like to be first tonight? So excited. So many of your faces. I just switched from the main screen to the multi-screen, and wow, look at all of you guys. How exciting. All right. So, Andrea, why don't you go first?
Hi.
Oh,
About 4 months ago, I had a hip replacement, and I knew about this months before it happened, but I wanted to make a point, a very, very strong effort to not let it derail me because I was very close to goal, and it was the perfect opportunity, so to speak, to derail me. So I was on the phone with my coach every single week. I was tracking my food 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. I wasn't allowed to do 100% meal replacement. I wasn't allowed to do the 5-in-1 for the week before, and I wasn't allowed to do the 5-in-1 for 2 weeks after. But I was so determined to not allow it to, bump me up 20, 30, 40 pounds, because I was on all these Facebook groups for hip replacement people that, they had such a struggle getting back. If you're heavy, you can't recover from something like that. It makes the recovery time so much longer. So I made a point to not allow that to happen to me. And as of now, I think I'm 23 pounds down from the day that I had my surgery. So it ended up being a really good thing, but it was a lot of effort on my part, and I'm really proud of myself for that.
yeah, great job. It seems like what you said is you thought about the future and were like, I see other people that's gotten out of sync that through this surgery or this circumstance that's going to be happening, I could use that as an excuse to get out of sync. But you basically planned to stay in sync. And what you said, a couple things there. You connected to your community, your support with your health coach, and you had a plan of what you were going to go in. You couldn't be on the 5-in-1 because of the surgery for a week before and 2 weeks after, but it didn't derail you. What a wonderful story. Thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Who else has a story of a time in their life when they've got to think? Yes, Anna, I'll unmute you. There you go.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Sorry I didn't get to see you at the conference, but next year.
That's okay. Yep, sounds good.
So my derailment involves not recording my meals, not recording my water intake, and I don't do it for several days, and then I realize it, and then I have to do kind of like, one of those I should have had a V8 moments. But I find that when I derail and I don't record, that's when I see 0.5 pound, 1 pound weight gain. So then I'm back on a horse,
Yeah, it's easy to get out of rhythm when we're not paying attention. It's almost like we're not paying attention to the music. Mm-hmm. And when we write it down, it has an easier connection with that. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing that with us. Actually, I wanted to bring on Nancy because Nancy is, in my mind, whenever we talk about journaling, there's a phrase that Nancy Pettit, who's with us tonight, and she always says. And so I wanted her, since she's here, to share a little bit about her experiences with that rhythm and how she stays in rhythm with her writing things down and journaling.
Hi, Coach Craig. Hey,
hi, Nancy.
I've been on my optimal health journey for 13 years, and I know this is kind of weird, but I really do journal to this day. Still do, and I just say if you bite it, write it. If you drink it, ink it. Write it down. And I would have to agree with what. With what has been said so far tonight is that when you don't connect and when you don't plan ahead, then you're planning on messing around. I always know what I'm going to be having for supper. I always do, usually the night before. We just always keep, lots of veggies in the refrigerator and fresh fruit, and we always have meat or salmon or something ready to go. We just do. And because I never used to plan anything before, and that was probably the greatest fail in my life, is just living by the seat of my pants, and my pants kept getting bigger and bigger, and it was because we just didn't plan ahead. And we'd go to restaurants, and so we don't eat out very often. And, so if I eat candy, I write down candy. I write down whatever I happen to eat.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, the third one that rings in my mind is if you nibble it, scribble it.
Yeah.
So it's bite it, write it, drink it, rink it, ink it, and nibble it, scribble it. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Yeah.
Who else has something or a time when you've gotten out of rhythm and some ideas to get you back in? Yeah, Cynthia.
Vacation is tough. So when I went to National Convention, we stayed a week afterwards. I literally had to pack a suitcase of Metafast just so I wouldn't, it's very tough, especially if you're staying in a room that doesn't have the amenities you need. Then you start eating out in the restaurants and, one poor choice leads to the next. And so vacation is really tough, I think, especially if you're somewhere because to pack, especially if you're on program, right? And you want to take that stuff with you, it takes an entire suitcase sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard a great strategy, and this might be helpful for all of you. One of my clients, her name's Cora, and Cora went to Hawaii, and she was going to be there for, I think, 5 days. And so there was multiple times early on where it was just, oh, let's have some dessert. And she told herself, I'm going to wait until the last day. And if I'm going to have anything, it'll be the day that I'm heading home or the day before. Because if she would have had it early on, then something in our crazy little brains, we get out of sync and out of rhythm. And all of a sudden our brains say, well, we've already had something. Now and we just stack up the days. And so she waited till the last day. She split a dessert, I think, with her husband. And the next day she's back on the plane. And so it was easy to get right back in rhythm. So maybe that'll help you guys as well when you're going on vacation. Who else would like to share?
Hi, this is Mike McDormand.
Yeah, hi, Michael.
Just carrying on from what Cynthia was saying about traveling and vacations and that. When I first started on plan 2.5 years ago, I was doing international business travel for 2 weeks to 3 weeks at a time. And I would literally pack a suitcase full of food and take it with me. And, the first time or two, it seemed sort of like a little bit overkill kind of thing. But I actually lost more weight while I was overseas for those few weeks than I did in the 5 or 6 weeks before that. So it sort of like excited me about doing that, and said it was well worth the effort.
Yeah. That's I find that, I'm sure many of you have found that too. When I plan for success and I could go to a situation where I could be out of sync, but when I come with my supplies and my necessary tools for health, for optimum health, I come back from trips and I'm slimmed up, I'm fine-tuned, I feel great. And the meals that we have are so friendly and so simple and so tasty, quite frankly. My wife and I went to Africa for 17 days, and we weren't sure. We'd never been to Africa before, and we were like, I have no idea what's going to happen. And so we took a lot of the bars and things that didn't need water because we weren't even sure about water. And we had I think we each took 50 meal replacements. And so literally there was 100 meal replacements in a suitcase. And when we did well, and I remember many times when they served us, or we had the options of some kind of fish thing that had eyeballs and tails and who knows what. And we were like, you know what? I think a s'more crunch bar sounds wonderful right now. And so that was really a godsend for us. Who else has a comment of when they've gotten off sync? Or out of rhythm, I should say. All right, why don't we, go ahead. All right, why don't we, for the operator, why don't we see if anybody on the telephone has a question? So if you want to introduce that.
If you have a question, please press the number 1 once on your touch-tone phone. Again, if you have a question, please press the number 1 on your touch-tone phone once. Hello, Craig?
Yeah.
There are no questions at this time.
Okay, perfect. No problem. So anybody else? Yes, Dan. Go for it.
Well, what I did way back in the beginning when I started my healthy, optimal life is that my coach told me one time, he says, you have a choice. You can either go down the freeway and use rest stops, or you can go down the freeway and just get lost in the country. And so that helped me to realize as my journey goes forward that I try to make sure I only use rest stops and not to get lost off into side communities, because then I never get back to the freeway. And I do like some of the other people say, is I use my Fitbit. I record everything that goes in my mouth. I record every exercise I do. I record every sleep. And that helps keep me accountable. And also, like you said, when I slip up on sleep or water, I know I need to drink more water, that's the way that I can keep myself on track, because every choice is hard. So do you choose hard, unhealthy, or you choose hard, healthy? And that has helped me to create habits and a lifestyle that keeps me hard, healthy instead of hard, unhealthy.
Yeah. No, thanks, Dan. That is really good. And I find, thanks for Dan's such an amazing health coach, and he's taken full ownership over his life, and optimal health has definitely been a part of that. So you're an inspiration to me. Dan, one of the things I find is that having one of these little smart pedometers, like a Fitbit, or there's a number of different ones out there, and it just seems like when it tells you what you've done, it just seems to like make it real. You know, when you've gotten poor sleep, it tells you, you can see it. Oh, my sleep went down that day. I don't like that. And so you have this feedback loop that's really powerful. I've had clients that are trying to do 10,000 steps in a day, and they get home from work and they've only done 9,000. And so like they go for a walk. Well, who would do that if you had no idea how many steps you had done? And they'll go walk 1,000 steps and come back in, and it's like, nailed it, you know? And then if it has some things where you can do stairs, or you can track your food and all those kinds of things. And so if you've never seen one of those, you can just Google Fitbit. Actually, you can buy those directly through Take Shape for Life, and they synchronize with something called the Take Shape for Life dashboard. And so it's really nice to have that feedback and keep you on rhythm by having a little companion, a little digital companion to help you along your way. All right, well, we have time for just a couple more questions or comments. Anybody else want to jump in? Oh, Darlene. Yeah, go for it, Darlene. Let's see here. Let me unmute you. Wait a minute. There you go. You're unmuted.
Speaking of the Fitbit, which is so funny that you had said that, because I had recently purchased a new one in June. And so last night I was about to go into bed, and I said to myself, what did my Fitbit bring today that I got my 10,000 steps? So I checked my thing, and it says 9,990 steps. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so I said, so I literally walked one step into the bed. I walked back and forth in my bedroom until that stupid thing rang, and I got my 10,000 steps.
Good job. You know,
I just thought that was
funny. Oh, it's great. What a wonderful problem to have, that you're like, you're not beating me, Fitbit. You're going to tell me 10,000 or I'm going to bed. Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Darlene, for sharing that with us. Awesome. Yeah, if you don't have them, you can get them for somewhere between $50 and $100, and they have a number of those. And I find those very, very helpful for if you're going to make this a lifestyle. Having a little companion along there that just kind of lets you know what you're doing is just super great. So I really like those. I don't use one. I've just got the Apple Watch, and it calculates things for me, and so it does a bunch of other stuff too, which is pretty fun for us techno crazy people. So, all right. Well, that's going to conclude our call tonight. I so appreciate you guys' attention. I hope this topic spoke to you and ultimately helps you in the future with the rhythm of health in your life. And so I want to encourage you guys to stay connected to your community as long as your community is healthy, because unhealthy communities will affect you just like healthy communities will help you. And so find a community that has the rhythm of health and learn to dance with them. Thanks, everybody, for your attention tonight, and we'll see you next time.